Welcome to another video from Helinika.com. The previous part ended when Odysseus was about to depart the island of Kirki, where he learned that in order to find a way to reach Ithaca safely, he would have to visit Hades, the ancient Greek kingdom of the dead. Odysseus sails away with his crew and lands on the region of the Cimmerians, where the men of winter resided. There he follows Kirki's instructions and performs a ritual that would open the veil that separates the land of the living from the land of the dead, allowing him to talk to the ghost of the blind clairvoyant Tiresias. The area was surrounded by thick fog. Odysseus performed the ritual, which involved sacrificing animals and offering milk and honey. He was warned that if he did not feed the souls of the dead, they would try to drink his blood. From the pit he had dug, countless souls appeared and started to consume the offerings. Odysseus came across many people he had met in his life, including his dead mother, Anticlea. The Ithacan king had to sit far away from the pit until the fortune-teller Tiresias appeared. He cried while watching his mother feast on the blood without being able to talk with her. All of a sudden, Theban Tiresias appears. Tiresias tells Odysseus that he should not touch the cattle of Ilions when he lands on Thrinacia, and he predicts that he will manage to kill Penelope's suitors when he finally reaches Ithaca. Tiresias also consoles Odysseus to make a sacrifice to Poseidon once he reaches a land where the people do not know of the sea. This is the only way to appease the god of the sea and live a trouble-free life. Tiresias then allows Anticlea to drink from the blood and finally talk with her son. Odysseus had left Ithaca knowing that his mother was alive. He was unaware she was dead. Anticlea explains that she couldn't bear waiting for her son's return. Her constant worries finally killed her. Odysseus tries to hug his mother at this point, but she vanishes into thin air. The souls of the dead start surrounding Odysseus, telling him their stories of how they died. The king of Ithaca starts running away from the pit and sails away with his crew. They first stop at Kirki's island, where they make a funeral pyre for the soul of Elpinor, who had died there and whom they met when talking with the souls of the dead. Kirki then warns them of a great danger they might face during their trip. On their way to the island of Ilios, the sun, the Ithacans might come across the Sirens, a group of dangerous creatures that lured sailors with their beautiful voices on the rocks they resided on. Contrary to the popular belief, the Sirens were not mermaids, but gigantic birds that had women's faces. The Ithacans were advised to wear earplugs and therefore never listen to the irresistible song of the Sirens. And that is exactly what they did. However, Odysseus was very curious and wanted to have this experience before settling to Ithaca. Instead of wearing earplugs, he asked his sailors to tie him to the mast and commanded them to not listen to him or untie him until they are far away from the Sirens. The sailors soon noticed the rocky island of the Sirens in the horizon. They tied Odysseus to the mast, put some wax in their ears, and started paddling faster than ever. The bloodthirsty Sirens tried seducing the men with their beautiful voices, asking them to make a stop on their island. Odysseus was begging his men for mercy. He was asking them to untie him and let him swim towards these magical and seductive women. But his sailors could not listen to him. After some time that felt like an eternity, they were able to sail away from the Sirens and finally untie their leader. The next obstacle they had to surpass was a pass between Scylla and Charybdis, two deadly sea monsters that had caused countless deaths in the sea. The narrow pass was located between Sicily and Calabria. On one hand, there was Scylla, a six-headed, dog-like creature that would eat sailors that accidentally sailed close to it. And on the other hand, there was Charybdis, a monster that lived under a small rock and created whirlpools that sank any nearby boats. Odysseus had to make a difficult decision here. Which option was the least dangerous for him and his crew? He realized that by avoiding Charybdis and approaching Scylla, he would lose fewer men. Charybdis would sink the entire ship, whereas Scylla would only be able to grab and eat a few men. That was a sacrifice that had to be made. The crew passed by Scylla, and Odysseus tells his men to not fear. He didn't want them to panic. Panic could be deadlier than the sea monster. Scylla managed to eat 6 men, to the horror of Odysseus and the rest of his crew. The crew managed to stay focused and sailed away, approaching the island of Ilios, where they mourned their dead friends. Had warned Odysseus to not eat the animals that resided on the island, since this would enrage Zeus. However, the winds were not in their favor, and the crew remained stranded on the island for days. There was almost no food left, and some of the men decided to eat the cattle of Ilios without asking for Odysseus' permission. That action enraged Zeus, who conjured a storm and targeted Odysseus' ship with a thunderbolt, wrecking it. The men fell into the water, and the enormous waves managed to separate them from each other. Odysseus grabbed onto a floating piece of wood and watched the waves take him towards the whirlpool of Charybdis. Lucky Ithacan managed to escape, and after passing by Scylla, he ends up in Calypso's island. And this is when Odysseus ends his story, thanking Alcinous for his hospitality. It is time for him to get on board and leave Phaeacia. What will happen next? Will Poseidon and Zeus allow Odysseus to reach Ithaca? If you want to watch the next part, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and visit helinika.com for more content like this. Hopefully, we will stay connected. See you in the next one.